wanted to make a video in response to something on Facebook I saw about a woman in Australia with MS. She was parked in a wheelchair parking spot, and someone wrote her a nasty note because they saw her, not looking sick and walking and, you know, outwardly looking normal, and looking well. Well, she wrote a pretty profound response, and I'm going to read it. I'm sick of people like yourself abusing me on my good days for using a facility I'm entitled to. A disability doesn't have to mean a person has to be wheelchair bound, but lucky for you, I one day will be. It really struck a chord with me because I felt that way for a long time, and I still feel that way because, well, now I don't have any kind of wheelchair because even if I need one part-time, I don't have the coverage. It's really, really hard to get coverage for anything in this system at the moment. But I could easily end up in one too pretty soon. The dysautonomia that I have is extremely disabling. And I used to have, I'd go out on my good days and seem and look completely fine. And I'm cherishing these good days. And people are ugly and they judge and they go and use your good days against you and say that you're a faker and a liar. The nature of these chronic illnesses is often up and down. Depending on where you're at and how severe you are, you either have good days and not so good days, or good days and terrible days, or you have so-so days and terrible days. For me right now, I'm on so-so days or terrible days. On terrible days, I can't talk. I'm not going out. I'm just completely in bed. I don't make videos. Like, on my so-so days, I make videos, and when I can, and talk and go out if I have to. I'm hoping that things are going to improve for me. The nature of these chronic illnesses is unpredictable. People are so ignorant and subjective minded to assume that just because someone is able to get by, is looking like they're fine, that they're not struggling and they're not ill, and it's not taking them 3 times the energy that it takes a person who's not afflicted. People have no idea how much effort it takes to do those things, even on your better days and your good days. Our bodies are in pain, our joints are often, in pain and hurting. We get easily cold or easily too hot, sensitive to temperatures. There's challenges with, food and eating out, and you can't just enjoy yourself and go to a restaurant. You have to worry about sensitivities and allergies. I'm at the point where I just can't hardly go to any restaurants at all. There's just none that can really accommodate my needs. I was looking today. I went to the mall for a bit because I had to go, well, go figure, I had to go to the clinic and get another prescription for my beta blocker. And I'm hobbling through the mall. I'm having like a so-so day today. So I'm using my cane and I'm slow and, you know, I'm standing out in the cold on the way back because the bus driver doesn't open the door and let me in until the very end when the bus is starting to leave. But anyways, I was walking. I saw people in this really popular, warm, cozy Vietnamese restaurant, like Saigon Grill or something. And I started crying because everybody's having a good time. They're sitting there having like grilled Vietnamese and a glass of wine, and those days are long gone. But on the good days, you know, it's like that woman said, people have no right to tear you down for appearing to cope on your good days, or for appearing to cope even on your not so good days. And if, like often people when they're really ill, they just, I mean, it's probably worse for people who are Aspies like me. Takes me more effort to socially perform. So when I'm not well, when I'm doing poorly, I don't want, I hide away. I'm like a hermit. I'm resting. First of all, it's because I need to rest. And second of all, I can't handle being social. Dysautonomia has very alarming, awful symptoms that can be scary, and I need to do things that are like doing my music on my computer, do quiet things that take me out of it, take me away while I'm resting. Social interaction when I'm doing poorly is out of the question unless it's absolutely necessary. And you can have moments, right? Because for me, too much social exertion even can make me flare, can trigger me, make me sick. My good days when I'm already feeling good and I already have something to work with, I cherish that. People cherish that. People that are sick cherish their good days. And it's really ugly of that person and other people to, pick on people and say, oh, you were fine the other day, you were walking and laughing, and the person was maybe having a good day. It doesn't mean they're a faker, it means they're having a freaking good day. And, the nature, you get flares with these illnesses. Sometimes we don't know what triggers it, or we get crashes. Even though we have a good day, sometimes if we go and enjoy ourselves on that good day, unfortunately, that can produce a crash the next day or a flare. It sucks. You have to pay for enjoying yourself. If that's not painful enough, being picked on and criticized by people who have no freaking clue what it's like to live in our shoes adds massive insult to injury. And people should just think with an objective mind and a compassionate heart before they judge. I struggled for years feeling unwell, having people call me a liar, a fraud, exaggerator, somatic, whatever. And it hurt because, I internalized it and let it make me sicker too. It's one of the reasons, not the only one, as to why I got sicker. Because I've been, I was born with this EDS, but I started getting worse about 8 years ago, and it was a gradual downhill progression. And throughout that time, I discovered that I'm on the spectrum because I started to not be able to have the energy to keep up socially and to keep up with the expectations. And I really noticed that, my quirks that way, and they started to expose themselves more. So it was interesting. And I also blame the pressure to perform a certain way. I can't even do that anymore. And even on my good days, in order to avoid having a really bad day the next day, I have to try and be more of myself. I can't put on pretense and try to change my tone of voice and change my stance and all this stuff I used to do. And it's really funny because I've been getting accused of being a liar and being a manipulator because I'm not as good at doing it as I used to be. I used to sort of pass for neurotypical, and, but, not, how do I put this? Still be thought of as kind of quirky, but in a charming way, rather than sort of an off putting way. Whereas now I do kind of, you know, off put. And, I have to, that's the way I was when I've gone back to being like 8 years old that way. When I was 8 and 9 and 10, I put people off, and you know, kids bullied me. I was like a bully trigger for people. Like they just predatorily bullied me because I was weird. And I learned to exert, and, it took so much energy, and I don't have that kind of energy anymore. I don't have energy to be someone I'm not, and I don't have energy to get upset over being accused of being a liar and a faker because I'm trying to rise above it on a good day. People with chronic illness put up with a lot of pain and fatigue and malaise and horrible discomforts, either a little bit or a lot. So they're they've got high thresholds for that kind of thing. So a person who is not chronically ill might be reacting differently and go, "Oh, I got to go home. I'm hurting." People with chronic illness are used to feeling like that. So they seem like they're fine. One time I went for help somewhere. This was during the whole time that psychiatrist did that horrible, awful thing to me and attacked me and said I was a fraud and all that, blah, blah, blah. I've written about the story. I only write about it because I want to create awareness for that kind of social injustice, not because I'm an attention seeker, but because I want awareness. But anyway, during that time, I was reading the Freedom of Information Act notes on me because I asked for them to be mailed to me. And it said, she claimed that she was in pain. However, she was seen smiling and wanting to ride the exercise bike or something, because there's an exercise bike there in the waiting area. And anyway, yeah, my legs were hurting. I went onto the exercise bike to gently move my legs to get some blood flow, because I was feeling edgy, probably dealing with um, POTS type of stuff and didn't know it at the time. Yeah, I was smiling because I don't like to show vulnerability and I'm used to coping with high pain levels. This is what I mean. It's so ignorant and cruel. And so many people with chronic illness are expected to, you know, it's like we're being given mixed messages. We're expected to both like rise above it and buck up and get over it. And then when we do, we're like accused of being liars and fakes and phonies. I mean, how do you win? People should just get themselves educated on the nature of chronic illness and realize that just because someone's chronically ill, you can assume that if they don't seem really that ill, they're probably having a good day. And if you don't see them, or if they seem grumpy or quiet or whatever, they're probably not having a good day. It's not freaking rocket science. So, but the last thing you want to do is knock people on their good days because those are precious to us. Those good days are precious. My little boy's birthday is coming up and I plan a special surprise for him. And I'm just praying to God that I'm going to have a good day. It sucks. It sucks to have to be afraid that I'm going to have a bad day when, all I want is to enjoy seeing my child happy and be as present as possible, to be able to get in there with him and enjoy his birthday surprise. If I don't have a good day, then oh well, at least he's enjoying it. But I would prefer to have a good day. And it sucks to have to worry about that. And these days, it's like I map everywhere I go. Do I have water? Do I have electrolytes? Do I have my meds? Do I have my cane? Like you know, I'll need a ride, and if I don't get a ride, I'll overexert too much and I'll get POTS and I'll get sick. Do I have, all these things that people take for granted when they're well? I don't anymore. So people really need to stop throwing acid on people's wounds by criticizing the way that they handle their chronic illness. You have no place to criticize or to judge how sick someone really is and how much they're lying and not lying. You have no right to judge that if you have not experienced a chronic illness. And even if you have, everybody's different how they cope. It depends on their personality, their neurology, and the nature of their illness and their life experience. That doesn't mean that people don't poorly cope and might need to get some help to get, better coping skills and be able to be happier. But it doesn't help them if they're not met with understanding and compassion too, right? And when it comes to looks too, looking sick, oh man, I mean, I've already said stuff about that. Other people say lots of stuff about that. It's just the but you don't look sick thing. Chronic illness, you don't. On my bad days, I do look not so good usually. Like, I look harsh. On my so-so days, sometimes I don't show it. Depends, you know. When I'm really acutely ill with a bad flare up and, whatever, like if I'm really bad off, then you could tell. But you don't, I don't want to be seen during that time. A lot of people want to be alone during that time and don't want to be seen. People don't like showing vulnerability. You have to build strength and character when you're sick. And lately, I've been having like more of a tanned look, like a glow. I'm usually very fair, very pale, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of figuring out why I'm tanned a little bit. And we've checked my adrenals already, and it's not that, which is surprising because you'd think that's a common cause, but there's other stuff, metabolic and hormonal, and it's kind of unnerving to me because I'm not used to being like I'm used to being really fair, and but it's frustrating because in a way, like it looks it looks healthy. That's what's so weird about it because I'm usually so pale that when I'm kind of tanned, it looks healthy. I call it the bad glow, but it has a technical term. It's called hyperpigmentation. So it means for whatever reason, whatever certain illnesses cause your skin to produce more melanin and darken. Now, for me, it's not like that profound or anything, but what's really strange is that some days it's more than others. And another thing is when I get sick, I get a glow. I actually get oily, like glowy skin, and it looks like I have smooth skin and I've used moisturizer, but I'm sick. It's really weird. And, not that's what I mean. Like, people might not look sick in typical ways that people are supposed to look sick, right? So you have no idea the nature of someone's illness, especially if it's a rare illness. Like mine's rare and complex, and it doesn't it's not typical in any way, you know? Hope this video wasn't too rambly and it made some sense.